Hey guys, welcome back to Get Ahead with Pete Kelly. I have another story about return to office mandates because this is not just an industry issue, it's an economic issue. It will affect millions of employees and former employees who have been laid off and those who are having to respond to the requirements of their employers who are really implementing these return to office mandates full speed ahead. So there are a lot of things that we need to consider when we talk about this subject. One of them is how will return to office mandates affect individuals' finances and the broader economy? So as we read through this article, we can think about that question. A Business Insider article entitled Sam Club CTO is leaving following parent company Walmart's return to office mandate. So it looks like a C-level executive has made a protest resignation. A top Sam's Club executive is leaving their role following parent company Walmart's return to office mandate. Sam's Club Chief Technology Officer Cheryl Ionia, who has been with Walmart for nearly 5 years and in her current role for one, will leave the position and won't be moving to Walmart's Arkansas headquarters, the company confirmed to Business Insider. Walmart earlier this year required corporate employees to work at one of their three office locations near New York, in the Bay Area, and in the hometown of Bentonville. Last week, Sam's Club CEO Chris Nicholas told Business Insider that in-person work is helping the company innovate more quickly. We deeply believe in the power of collaboration and that power of collaboration by being together. It has always been a superpower and it will continue to be. Ionia, who did not respond to a request for comment from Business Insider, has been based in San Jose, according to her LinkedIn profile. Bloomberg reported that Ionia is exiting the company because of the return to office mandate, along with personal reasons, and that many C-suite executives are expected to move to Bentonville. Walmart has been working on a sprawling new corporate campus that's slated to officially open next year. Before she joined Sam's Club, Ionia led Walmart's emerging tech team, helping to integrate generative AI into the company's suite of apps for employees and customers. Walmart is one of the biggest companies to require its corporate workforce to return to the office since the remote work era of the pandemic. In September, Amazon announced that employees would be expected to work in person 5 days a week beginning next year. 3M is also rolling back on the so-called trust-based approach with a return to office mandate. If you remember in one of my earlier videos when I talked about the return to office mandates, the trust-based approach was a big argument that many employees were using to combat these mandates, arguing that the companies were doing this because they didn't trust employees to get their work done, but it was never really based on trust. It was really based on safety and public health. That's why people were allowed to work from home. But now that public safety and public health are no longer an issue like they were in the pandemic, there's really no reason why people shouldn't be willing to go back to work, because that was the basis upon which they were sent home in the first place. It was never about trust. So it's really a straw man argument. With around 85,000 employees worldwide, the company's new CEO has decided that all managers need to come in from Tuesday to Thursday. Bill Brown took over as chief executive in May and has now issued his mandate that anyone at director level and above be in the office 3 days a week. However, this is an expectation, not a requirement. It is also not going to be a requirement for staff under director level. Staff on the production lines have always worked to different policies as they need to be present in the facility. And I think that it's interesting that this is being presented as an expectation and not a requirement. I believe that they're doing this to give the employees greater latitude, but also to put the ball in their court, to put the hot potato in their lap, to give them responsibility and also to make them accountable to demonstrate teamwork and their willingness to collaborate and demonstrate empathy and just contribute to culture in general. And my question is, will this be a metric used to assess them during their annual reviews? Could this be a tactic to make examples of expensive, high paid directors for lower level employees and to basically scare people into compliance? I wonder if this could be what they're attempting to accomplish through this. The first employees expected to comply will be those living within 50 miles of the company's Minnesota headquarters. However, this policy will then be applied globally over time. And I spoke in another video about return to office mandates. One of my clients is a high level manager in an insurance company, and he had to lay off employees earlier in 2024. But he also had to deliver the bad news that anyone living within 50 miles of an office space would have to commute in at least some time of the weeks, 2 or 3 days at minimum. And he compromised with one of his employees. He told them that he didn't have to come in because his employee did live 49 miles away. And he compromised with this employee, but my client got in trouble with his superior for compromising on that and said that it would reflect poorly, it would look like favoritism. So he had to go back to his employee and tell him the bad news that no, you still have to drive 49 miles to the office, however many days a week that the policy requires you to do. So this is a reality for many people. While 3M's return to office mandate is far less stringent than those of Amazon and Morgan Stanley, it is still a far cry from the work your way policy that the company made a splash about in 2021. The company's execs might well be cringing when they read the gushing statements about 3M's trust-based approach that lets employees create a schedule that helps them work when and where they can most effectively. Aman Gupta, Vice President of Enterprise Workplace Strategy, said at the time, "It is about getting your work done and delivering results, not about where you sit and what time you logged on." But times have changed, and Bill Brown insists that these mandated collaboration days are needed to reinvigorate the 3M innovative machine. And 3M is only one of many big tech companies who are implementing return to office policies. Among them are Apple, who began its hybrid policy back in 2022, requiring 3 days in person. JP Morgan Chase mandates that managing directors be in the office full time, while other employees have to work in person at least 3 days a week. Microsoft, Meta, IBM, and Google all require workers to be in the office 3 days a week. Bank of America requires the majority of its workers to be in the office 3 days a week, while its investment bankers, traders, and client-facing employees must be in 5 days a week. Morgan Stanley and X have a 5-day per week requirement. Tesla requires employees to work in the office at least 40 hours a week. Dell implemented return to office for its global sales team, requiring them to work in person 5 days a week beginning September 30th of this year. On January 2nd, 2025, Amazon will require all corporate employees to work in the office 5 days a week. And now, Walmart's return to office policy includes giving 90 days severance to those who don't transfer or leave, expecting employees to work in person at least 2 days a week, and offering a hybrid schedule to previously remote workers. It's no surprise that many are upset about this, and one employee even called this policy a bunch of bullshit on a Zoom call. And the primary stated reasons for which all of these companies have been adamant about returns to the office are to facilitate in-person collaboration, which leads to greater innovation and improvement of team dynamics. However, others say that this could be a way for companies to simply trim the fat. Many tech companies overhired during the pandemic and are now having to contract due to slumping sales as inflation eats away at consumers' purchasing power. And two things to consider are one, that if there was ever a time for laid off employees to start their own companies and compete head to head in the tech space, that time is now. And the second thing to consider is how will return to office policies affect employees' wallets? It's safe to assume that they'll be spending more on gas, more on car maintenance, and more on food if they don't like meal prepping. If they're among those who are unfortunate enough to live 49 miles away from an office, that fuel bill will really add up. And this only eats into their already strained budgets even more. So, what do you think? Do you think the companies will have an even greater reckoning to face as a result of these return to office policies and laying off employees? Will we see buzzwords like revenge tech and comeback apps in the next 5 years? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Again, thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, share this video with someone else, and don't give up when you can get ahead.